Dennis Dodd of CBS has been writing about college football for 3 decades. He seems to know his stuff. One of his favorite topics is the College Football Hall of Fame. Who should be in, who should be out, what's wrong with the process, and so forth. Dodd is surely not the only person to point out the unfairness of the Hall's criteria, none more so than the requirement that a player must have been named a first-team All-American by one of the 5 main listing services. He has stated numerous times, and I agree with him, that it's absurd for Joe Namath and Joe Montana not to be considered for induction since neither was a first-team All-American. Namath played at Alabama from 62 to 64, and Montana at Notre Dame from 75 to 78. There is no need to recapitulate the careers of these quarterbacks with the Crimson Tide and Fighting Irish, respectively, other than to say both did quite well. If I may paraphrase, Dodd opines that the College Football Hall of Fame lacks legitimacy since stellar players like Namath and Montana cannot be included. 76 players were nominated for the 2016 class. Each of them, needless to say, was a first-team All-American. Of those not chosen, Dodd picked out 10 who he thought should have been admitted and yet were not. Morton Anderson, kicker from Michigan State; Derek Brooks, linebacker from Florida State; Eric Dickerson, running back from SMU; Raghib Ismail, wide receiver and kick returner from Notre Dame; Matt Leinart, quarterback from Southern California; Rashaan Salam, running back from Colorado; Brian Urlacher, linebacker from New Mexico; Mike Utley, offensive lineman from Washington State; Ron Woodson, defensive back from Purdue; and Dot Nguyen, linebacker from Texas A&M. I know about all of these guys and can attest that they are Hall worthy. But they, like Namath and Montana, were just football players. Abner Haynes, whose college football achievements take a back seat to none of them, was more. Wouldn't he have loved to play for some of those schools? Abner Haynes, a Michigan State Spartan, an SMU Mustang. He was born in Dallas and tried to get the attention of athletic director Matty Bell, only to be rudely turned away. A USC Trojan, a Colorado Buffalo. He did, in fact, have a scholarship offer from CU, but his loyalty to high school teammate Leon King caused him to say no. Haynes, a Purdue Boilermaker. Haynes, a Texas A&M Aggie. I'll say this, he deserved to be playing big-time football. North Texas, not to be ungracious, was not big-time by any stretch of the imagination. The Eagles, members of the Missouri Valley Conference, played at Little Fouts Field. When they went on the road, it was often to places like Tulsa, Abilene, San Jose, Wichita, and Cincinnati. Bright lights and media attention were nowhere to be found, which is not to take anything away from the quality of football played. Just 2 years had passed since the Supreme Court's landmark ruling, Brown versus Board of Education, in which racial segregation in public schooling was deemed unconstitutional. With so-called leaders like Orville Faubus of Arkansas, James Coleman of Mississippi, Marvin Griffin of Georgia, Harry Byrd of Virginia, and Alan Shivers of Texas still fighting the Civil War, it was hard to get black students into integrated classrooms in the South in the mid-1950s. And the football team? Heaven forbid. North Texas State College did not cover itself in glory during those early integration years. It happened only because of lawsuits, court rulings, and some determined young African Americans who wanted to be educated the same as their European American peers. Coach Otis Mitchell had no intention of integrating his 1956 freshman team, but Haynes came knocking on his door that summer. You can try out, Haynes was told. If you make good, maybe you will get a scholarship at a later time. On the basis of that thin thread, he went to Denton. When he first met his teammates in August in the parking lot beside Fouts Field, Haynes was carrying a switchblade knife in his pocket, just in case. As it turned out, that was not necessary. Several players, especially quarterback Vernon Cole, went out of their way to befriend him and ease his way onto the team. As soon as Haynes put on a green and white uniform, it was evident that he could play. Yes, he could really play. 1 year on the freshman team and 3 on the varsity, and he lifted the Eagles to a level they had never reached in their football history. At such an obscure school, however, he had no realistic chance of being named a first-team All-American. Nevertheless, he was quite possibly the best running back in the nation in 1959 and deserved serious Heisman Trophy consideration. I have to think word got around to fans, media, scouts, and others about this black guy up in Denton. Too bad he's not playing for one of the Southwest Conference schools. Texas, Texas A&M, SMU, Rice, TCU, Baylor, or Arkansas. He could have contributed there just as he did at North Texas State. My message to Dennis Dodd of CBS is this: Namath, Montana, Anderson, Brooks, Dickerson, Ismail, Leinart, Nguyen, Salam, Urlacher, Utley, and Woodson were fine players, each and every one, but they were just football players. Abner Haynes was more. The significance of what he did in starting the integration process in the South can hardly be overstated. He is most deserving of being put in the College Football Hall of Fame.